the cool pretty good.
Got in 1973, standing for the SNP. Labour said she had no chance. Oh, but by climbing every stair, knocking doors on every flare, Margot led them on a dance. And throughout her magic life, her star had shone so bright. She stood for what was just and what was true. So on the 18th of September, with that ballot in your hand, mind ask yourself, hey, what would Margot do? Referendum 79, Margot put in overtime. She was the heart of Scotland's cause. Oh, Labour efforts were half-baked, Tories peddled fear and hate, backed up by that wrecking clause. Oh, and throughout her magic life her star had shone so bright. She stood for what was just and what was true. So on the 18th of September, with that ballot in your hand, mind ask yourself, hey, what would Margot do? Oh, Govan 1988, Jim was standing, he was great, had the Tories on the run. Told the poll tax to get stuffed, called on Labour to wake up. Margot said it was Jim's turn. Oh, and throughout her magic life her star had shone so bright. She stood for what was just and what was true. So on the 18th of September, with that ballot in your hand, mind ask yourself, hey, what would Margot do? Mind ask yourself, hey, what would Margot do?
If your support for the union was based on who you like in terms of political leaders, would there be anybody willing to admit that they want to support the union because they like David Cameron or they like Boris Johnson? It's about us as women particularly being able to remove something that is almighty powerful in our lives, i.e. a Westminster government that only has 22% women represented there, very elite women, and mostly white, affluent, not even middle class, white, affluent, privileged, mostly private school, Oxbridge educated men who have absolutely no clue about our lives and no clue about Scotland. And even though I don't suggest that an independent Scotland would automatically be nirvana, that edifice which has controlled this country without consent for hundreds of years would be removed. So a big ceiling keeping women down particularly would be removed, giving us the opportunity for the first time to take democratic control of our lives and of our country. And all we have to do is put a cross in a ballot paper.
As an Irish person, I suppose, being brought up with a very Republican view of Ireland and, you know, the revolution and what happened, one thing I'm clear about and I've absolutely no concern about is that Scotland will get the currency. If it's the SNP that's in power, you will get the sterling. Because having been through a period where we had a revolution to try and get away from the clutches of Britain, actually we had the pound for 50 years after that. Let's be under no illusion, the Bank of England, and then for another 20 years we had our own pound, but it was parity with the British pound. So the notion that an agreement between Westminster and Holyrood that this would all be civilised and that this was somehow you're not going to get the pound, when a country that went through a revolution to get rid of it, they gave it to us. You know, it just seems to me, you know, it's a no-brainer for me that actually you will get sterling. But I suppose the thing for the Greens is trying to get people to realise that You know, there's more than one view of what an independent Scotland can be. And in 2016, what you vote for then is probably more important, because it's that government that will actually be determining, they'll be the government that will go into the really heavy negotiations. Because on the 19th of September, there's not going to be a wall, you know, you're not going to stop using sterling. So I think we've all got a responsibility to be really positive, to engage women. I've only just convinced my daughter to vote yes. It took me about 8 months to convince her, but I have. So I'm very proud of myself. But we've got to go and find two people who are no's, and we've just got to nail them, and we've got to say to them, it isn't about Alex Salmond, it isn't about the SNP. This is about a decision that we want to make. We have a different view of society. We don't want the 6 big banks. We don't want the 6 big energy companies. We don't want fracking under our land without any right of consultation or refusal. We don't want that. And we don't need a Westminster government that actually is more in favour and supports the big companies than it is actually supports its citizens. That's the function of government, is to protect us, because it's hard enough to get protection when you've got these companies, they're so big and they're so large. So for me, it is about communities, it's about power passing down, not sitting in Holyrood, passing down, so that when it comes to things like fracking, or when it comes to things like coastal erosion and communities are being destroyed, actually they have some power and some say and some resources to do something about it. So, we're going to have a party on the 19th. I hope it's not going to be a wake. I hope it is going to be a party. Thank you very much.
Got the words in my song. Ain't so much a question of not knowing what to do. I've known what's wrong and right since I was 10. I've heard a lot of stories, but we'll not get Doctor Who, and we'll never see the X Factor again. I know I must be careful not to fail by ignoring everything I read in the Daily Mail. I'm just a girl who can't vote no. Yes, it can for me. I've had enough of Westminster. I want democracy.
Was just and what was true. So on the 18th of September, with a ballot in your hand, mind ask yourself, hey, what would Margot do? Mind ask yourself, hey, what would Margot do?